Thank you, Katayama-san. Well, first of all, about this triangular relationship among the United States, China, and Japan, as far as I'm concerned, I have never ever believed a triangular relationship exists among these three countries. From Japan, we have got an alliance with the United States and economic relationship with China. That's it. And maybe seen from China, I suspect there is no such triangular thing among the three countries. Triangular relationship seen from China, maybe China, the United States, and Europe. And maybe Japan is a part of the United States. So, I don't think there's any such thing like a triangular relations among the three countries. Well, let me compare the situation which has prevailed over the Western Europe after the end of the Second World War and the situation which developed in Asia Pacific. In the case of the Western Europe, you have got the NATO, and EC then turned into EU, and CSCE, and OSCE, the cohesive framework which embraces all the member countries in there. In a stark contrast to that, no such one cohesive security framework, for example, like NATO, has not developed in the Asia-Pacific region. Yes, once on a CETO, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization, was attempted as a kind of NATO version of Southeast Asia. However, as soon as it was named, it became dormant, not existent at all. Instead, the United States played a role of the hub of the bicycle, and spokes extending to Japan, to Korea, and Taiwan, and Philippines, and so forth. And on the basis of this and the bilateral security treaty network, the stability of the region has been maintained. There may be a reason for this. In the United States, in Western Europe, most of the member countries have felt the same thing. This is a common threat of the Soviet Union. Again, in contrast, in Europe, even during the Cold War era, the threat of the Soviet Union wasn't so keenly felt. The only countries who felt the threat of the Soviet Union were perhaps Japan, Korea, and in a different context, China. That's all. For many ASEAN countries, Southeast Asian countries, and South Asian countries, no chance, no opportunity for them to feel the threat of the Soviet Union. Therefore, the threat perception varied from one country to another in the Asia-Pacific region. But under that kind of circumstances, the United States and Japan, the U.S. Japan Security Alliance, has played a significant role for the stability, maintaining the stability in the region. But as Senator Inoue mentioned, the United States has been paying 5%, 60% of the GDP for defense, while Japan's spending on defense remains around mostly under 1% of the GDP. However, the world is quickly changing. The United States government has indicated and implied that the whole thing can't go on like this. They have to be more dependent on the further efforts in the defense security area by allies and friendly nations. And Japan has to squarely face this change in the situation. Having said that, Asia has got a lot of common agenda items to be tackled with among ourselves. But incidentally, in this case, I think the United States is an indispensable part of Asia and Asia-Pacific. There are keen interest on the part of the Asians, not just Chinese, Japanese, but people in ASEAN and so forth, for such things like confidence building, democracy, human rights, governance, health, climate, and disaster relief sort of thing. Lots of rooms for the United States, China, and Japan can do and should do in these areas. We are now living in the 21st century. Entirely new international circumstances is developing, as you all know. And in order to maintain the stability in the world, including Asia-Pacific, there should be a need for cooperation and mutual understanding between the industrialized democracies, the United States, Western European countries, Japan as well, and the newly emerging industrializing countries represented by BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. The cooperation, I said, is that if the other side of the two, in industrialized democracies and emerging industrial countries, if the other side tries to or is overwhelmed militarily and with economics and power by the other, the world will not be stable. However, more importantly, to have a stable world, stable Asia-Pacific, we have to give lots of emphasis on the power of thought, power of ideas. This is easier said than done. However, once both industrial democracies and the newly emerging countries can cooperate together, work closely together to nurture and create more of the thoughts of power, the power of ideas, power of thoughts, which will be a very big blessing to the entire Asia-Pacific. In this context, as Professor Agawa mentioned earlier, the exchange of peoples will be very, very important, be it between Japan and China, between China and America, between America and Japan. I would like to see the quick and further quick and enhancement of the exchange of people at a variety of different levels, intellectuals, grassroots, and youngsters, and so forth. And to conclude, if in my capacity as a commissioner of baseball players are included in that exchange, I don't have any objection to that. Thank you very much.